All right, this week we are in Luke chapter 2 for our Bible reading, and Jeff and I want to give you a quick sketch of that chapter and talk a little bit about what you're going to find there. If we want to summarize this real simple, chapter 2 takes us from the actual birth of Jesus through his boyhood.
Right.
That's kind of where the chapter ends up. So, a couple of main sections to watch for. First of all, verses 1 through 7 are just the birth story.
Right.
I thought it was interesting, Jeff, the references to people and places, sort of getting back to Luke's original purpose he talked about at the beginning. He's very thorough in talking about where this happened and who was reigning and all the people involved. Then in verses 8 through 20, we have the appearance to the shepherds announcing the birth and their story. That's followed in the rest of the chapter by two appearances at the temple. There's an early temple visit where he encounters Simeon and Anna.
And he's still a baby.
And he's still, that's right. And then there's a later temple visit when he's a young boy. Beginning of verse 39 where he comes back and he visits the temple again. So that's what you're going to find. That's the content of chapter 2. Couple of things that people might have questions about as they're reading along. I was looking there at 25 when he meets up with Simeon. You have this man who's described as looking for the consolation of Israel. And then in 38, in the encounter with Anna, it talks about those who are looking for the redemption of Jerusalem. Why don't we talk about this a little bit to give folks a leg up on what's happening there?
Sure, that is language that's really taken from the prophets, Isaiah in particular. And what that's basically saying is that Anna and Simeon were very spiritually insightful. They actually realized that God had not really fulfilled yet his prophecies that his people would return from exile. And so they're still looking for God to do something, not just looking for the Messiah, but realizing that the Messiah is not just going to come and reestablish an earthly kingdom. They understand that this Messiah is going to be a spiritual work in which God's people are going to be, I don't know that they fully understood any more than the disciples, even when Jesus was crucified, understood, but they were on that spiritual track of understanding that God is still doing a spiritual, not a political work among his people.
Thinking how odd that must have been for Joseph and Mary.
Yeah.
These two very young peasant kids with a new baby coming into the temple, and all these people start coming up talking about this child and the significance of the child. That's what we have going on in that first visit at the temple.
And using language that they would have, I think, known from the prophets, that really belongs to God and belongs to, these huge promises God has made to Israel, which is really going to be fulfilled spiritually in the church and so forth. But that's got to be, stunning to hear that kind of language invoked about your child.
Yeah. Let's jump ahead to that second visit, because Jesus gets left behind. Like every good parent, Mary and Joseph left their kid at the church building. So
that's right. If you're not parenting, if you haven't left the kid
at least once, and so I was one of the kids left at the church building.
Wow.
So anyway, going back to verse 49, when they catch up to him, the young man Jesus, or the boy Jesus, says to his parents, didn't you know that I'd have to be about my father's business or in my father's house? And there are a couple of questions that raises. First, about what exactly he's talking about, and then secondly, about what would have been his knowledge about who he is and what he has come to do at this point.
Sure. And I think part of it is, of course, again, whiplash for his parents, because father's house, that kind of implies who is he? To speak that way in the first place. And so that's a stunning choice of words on his part. But then, what is he doing there? And I think the text seems to drop hints that, he's not just teaching, he's being taught. They're amazed at his answers. They're asking him questions, and he's showing a stunning amount of insight into the scripture for especially a 12-year-old boy. And so, so we're left with this whole realization that there's something more to him than just a boy hitting puberty, that he has a level of spiritual insight and even knowledge that amazes, this is the temple, man. This is like going to Harvard. These are the elite teachers in their world, and they're staggered by this 12-year-old boy and what he seems to know and understand, and at the level at which he can converse with these experts on the law.
Right. I think we're beginning also to see here at the beginning this tension develop between the earthly the earthly concerns and the heavenly
Correct.
concerns, because you have this, mom and dad concerned about him,
Yeah.
and yet him being consumed with a heavenly mission that's going to play out really throughout the story.
Well, and along that line, that's why as the Gospels go on, and we see this in every Gospel, but in Luke's as well, and perhaps even more so, the ultimate issue is pursuing the heavenly goals, God's purposes, over even good earthly things, like not worrying your mom and dad to death. Where again, kingdom priorities trump even normal family life. Jesus knew why he was here and was pursuing that.
So we're in Luke 2 this week. Read that over. Try to make some time every day to do that. Maybe read it in some different translations. If you have questions about the text, we'd be happy to get those from you. If you're watching on Facebook, you can just post in the comments and we'll check them out there. Or if you're a member at Kleinwood, you can text me or Jeff or email us, and we will be glad to work through the questions you might have about your reading. Thanks for watching.